Hello and welcome. Welcome to CPR's Clubhouse Live. My name is CPR Jose Ortiz, and I'm being joined by Willie Valentin. Of course, being joined by GA George Anthony and Jenaro. Guys, thank you so much for being here to discuss collaborations, features, duets, team ups. Um, we call it so many different things. I recall having a conversation with George Lamont and George Anthony, and I said that we're doing a duet when Now That Is Over was about to be released. And he was like, no, not a duet. It's more like a collaboration, a team up. So I've been very adamant about making sure that I don't call collaborations or team ups or features duets anymore, because when it's two men, it kind of is not really a duet, because duets are typically women and men together. So we'll keep it in that form. But I want to go around the room and ask you, when you hear about collaborations, features, duets, and team ups, what do you guys think? What comes to mind? Willie Valentin, I'll let you go first.
It all depends on the artist. So my first thing that I think about is, when can I see this live? I'm excited about the song, but am I going to be able to see them perform it? That's what comes to my mind first.
What about you, GA?
No, I'm piggybacking off of Willie Valentin. Of course, if I'm going to be able to perform this song live at an event with the artist, for the most part, I've done the 90% of the artists that I've done collaborations with. I've performed live with them, so that plays a huge role on the decision making of who I collaborate with, right? So plays a huge role, and also how we're going to help each other out once this project happens. So those two things are the ones that that does it for me.
Jenaro, what about you?
I guess I got a slightly different opinion. I don't look at the performance aspect first, because I always look at what do I think what can come out of this collaboration. Like, is what can we get together and what's going to come out of this? Like, that's my first thought. And then secondly, as far as the performance thing, I've always been more of like, if I think the song takes off, the other part will kind of come together. That's just how I've always felt. Because if the song catches, you two are going to make sure that you can be where you need to be to collaborate and do that performance. But my first thought is always, like, from the artistic perspective of, is there something here? Me getting to do this with this person, like, does it make sense? Does it, like, what's going to come out of it? That's my first thought.
Can I just just rebuttal a little bit on this one? The only reason, the reason I say this is because when I did a duet with my wife, right, After All, when I released it, no buzz, nothing. What made that record was performing it. That's when everybody goes, wow, I love it. Is it out yet?
Yeah.
It promotes the record,
True, absolutely.
But again, it can go both ways. I'm just saying, I look at that record and people don't even know it's available, and it kind of promotes it. That's just my take a little bit on it.
And what before we get into the nitty gritty of things, I want to get to a basic question, and that is the expectation and the collaboration. What is it that you're expecting, and what do you feel the person you're collaborating with is expecting? Because from what I've gathered in the last few months, it's totally different, and it seems like people are more far apart than ever when it comes to expectations of where they're going to be or end up. So I'll start with Jenaro on this one. Expectations on collaborations. What do you think?
I mean, first expectation is, if it's something that you're planning to release, is the validity of the collaboration. You know what I'm saying? If it's something you're just getting together to do something, like just having like a jam session, you're getting together to write, to put things together, and maybe it's not going to come out, then that's cool too. But the expectation is it should be a mutually beneficial arrangement, first and foremost. That should be if it's something that's going to be released, it should be mutually beneficial to both parties involved.
Captain Collabo, George Anthony. He has
anybody agree, disagree?
Yeah, I think it's a great point, but what I wanted to do is get everyone's take, because again, in the information in the information that I've gathered, um, people's expectations have changed, and instead of it being something that is celebrated, it becomes something totally different, especially in the internet freestyle community. But let me just get your opinion, George Anthony, on collaborations and expectations.
No, definitely. As far as the expectations that I have, in my case, when I did songs with George Lamont, Asia, Cynthia, which we already know, those are like the household names, the trailblazers, the pioneers, as we call them, right? What I expected was just to try to create some type of like united front for all of us, just to make sure that, and also to let people know, yeah, the old school is embracing this new music, because I used to call us new school, but we're not really new school, because we're around the same age bracket, right? We're not a new era either. So it's just like, I said let me see first if George Lamont would like to do a duet with me. And when he said yes, I was like, oh my goodness, I totally took advantage of it. And I just want to show people that, these legends are embracing us. You know what I'm saying? You just got to bring them stuff that they brought to us that made us fall in love with the freestyle genre, right? So those are my expectations, just to bring unity somewhat to this genre, if possible.
Willie?
I agree with both of them, and like the both outlooks on that. Um, I don't do a lot of collaboration or duets or anything like that. Not because I don't want to. I also go back to what I said the first one. Like, if I'm going to do a record and I never can perform it, to me, it's I don't want to do that. But in some cases, I'm seeing that you get offers to do collaborations, to do a duet. But sometimes it's one side is like, oh, if I can get them on my record, or it doesn't even mean me. I mean, anyway, maybe it'll help my career, right? But like what George said, it has to be beneficial for both parties, right? And then I think Janelle said the same thing. So you want to make sure that, okay, what is everyone getting out of it? Let's put aside money. I mean, we're not talking about that, but is that going to get you more shows? Is it going to get you more people listening to your other songs, right? That you've put out in the past? Because that one collaboration, that one duet will hopefully open it up to new fans who've never heard your old stuff. So that to me would be an expectation. Like, I'm hoping that they can hear the rest of my catalog.
So when we talk about the expectations, I always say that the legends have opened doors and they have embraced newer artists or artists that are in a different generation or tier than they are. I see that as a pull up, right? I see as if George Lamont is asking George Anthony, hey, I'll collaborate with you. He's trying to pull him up, Cynthia with Cynthia. Stevie B did it with Julio Mena. I see that. I see people in the same school of sorts, like Jenaro, Louis Marte, collaborating together, having these jam sessions. Willie Valentin, when I talk about collaboration, I think about the 90s and everyone that you assisted in putting a song out and producing them and, giving them their first opportunity. But the expectation now is so different. Now, if we go back to the Willie Valentin era of him helping people out back in the 90s, right? He was giving them an opportunity to be part of a compilation. Now in 2024, they're out here with their hand out asking Willie about royalty statements and how come I'm not booked on shows with you, right? That's one way. And then we look at George Anthony, and it's a question that I've been wanting to ask you, George. When you do collaborations with people, are you doing it as an altruistic thing, as something that, because you want to be a person that brings somebody up, or as people have put it on social media recently to me, and I hope you don't get offended, it's that you're trying to collaborate with them because they're hot and you want to jump on the bandwagon of the artist?
First, if I believe in the song, I and I have the opportunity to jump on it, and add a little bit of what I can offer to that track. Then that, because that's what happened now that it's over, I did it alone. But when I heard it back, I'm like, I need something. So of course, I asked George Lamont. I was like, yo, this song needs something. He says, yeah, me. So when I do collaborations with people, it's not because I think I can make it better. I like the song, and anyone that I've done a collaboration with, I have a conversation with them first. I say, listen, you can either take this song, right, keep it for yourself, and it never happened. We don't have to mention it to no one. Or if you really like it and think that you want to put it out and it can help we can help each other out, then do it. I've always had that conversation with any artist that I've done a collaboration with. So it's more like I do it one because I'm a fan of the song and I want to be a part of it, and that's pretty much about it. You know, at the end of the day, that conversation happens before I put out anything. I will never put out anyone or blindside them or surprise them and be like, hey, I jumped on your song. You know, it's out on iTunes. I will never do that. I always have a conversation, and if they're cool with it, then I'm cool with it.
I'm sure that that's happened to you because there's been some songs that people have jumped on without your consent, or they may have said it in passing, they jump on it and then they release it on iTunes. But I say that because, you know, I've been in situations where you've been mentioned and I've been there with you. And the way that I see it is you trying to bring somebody with you on the ride that you're on.
Yeah.
And by collaborating with them, you know, I saw a Jay Mazur collaboration, you know, and I thought that was pretty cool because Jay Mazur is a person of talent, but the expectations of folks are kind of so far apart. They may see you at these venues, right? Like they may see you at a Fever show. They may see you on stage with George Lamont and Cynthia and some of the pioneers. And they're like, well, if I collaborate with him, I'm going to get the same opportunities. And then when it doesn't happen, then they get sour on you.
Well, listen, they gotta also understand that this didn't happen overnight, right? These people that I've collabed with, George Lamont, Cynthia, Suave, they've all been coming to my house since 2013. So when I had the studio and Jay Adams was working out of my studio in Jersey City, so you know it was just me watching them do their thing and slowly but surely trying to establish some type of musical relationship with them because I knew them as friends, you know what I'm saying? And I wasn't really singing at that time. So I worked a lot in the studio. So it's from 2013, do the math, there's 11 years, you know what I'm saying? And it just 4 or 5 years ago, I started doing duets with the big dogs, you know, like George Lamont and Cynthia. And that song, You Should Have Told Me, is still going strong. When we perform it, it's one of the strongest duets in new music freestyle. And that's what I wanted. You know what I'm saying? Those people, every time Cynthia and I hit the stage with that song, people um, react to it so well that after the show is over, it's like, damn, you know, we got to do it more often. And I think the last time I performed that song with her was in Connecticut. Three to the Max had a record release party, and Cynthia brought me to her room, to her dressing room, and she says, "Do you mind doing the duet with me?" I said, "You don't have to ask me. All you have to do is say George Anthony's in the house," and I would have gone. I stay ready, right? So you know, it's just the fact that she asks when she doesn't have to do the song. That speaks volumes too.
Willie
True.
Valentin, you know, again, you've had many people with their hand out, you know, from 96, you know, from 97, 98, you know, trying to say that you're getting all these opportunities, right? They don't see the work that it goes in, especially in your Back to the Future series that you're promoting right now. Do you have anything to add to that subject at hand when it comes to collaborations and expectations?
So I think I'm just hitting the same bell all the time. But you know, what we're doing is we're collaborating. A lot of the show is collaborating and things like that. But again, like even like George said, it took a long time to get here, right? And I think I can speak for all of us. We don't get shows every week, right? That's not what we do. It's great when we do. We get into these in this certain times of the year. We're like back to back to back, which is great. But then, you know, I just sat down and said, you know, how do I create this opportunity for us to get shows, you know, and it doesn't happen overnight. We're still not where we need to be, right? I still think we're in the inception of this, and it's very hard. I learned a lot, lost a lot, but that's what happens when you get into a new venture. But then you see the light at the end of the rainbow. But like we're doing the Back to the Future thing on the cruise, and now we're thinking of what can we do differently to make ourselves shine. So when you know you're gonna have thousands of people there that a lot of them are not gonna know who I am, Jenny Renee, you know, and they're gonna see us and go, wow, where can I see these people again? Where can I buy their music? You know, so we're thinking now, and I'm trying to think of ideas to make that show different. You know, I think collaboration is a big part of that. That's the way we're gonna make it look different. Instead of every artist performing one at a time, we might just make a big show, big themed collaboration. Someone singing leads, people doing backgrounds to the song, some duets. That's, you know, what we're trying to accomplish. And it's, you know, it's 3 months away, a little more than 3 months, but it's going to go by quickly. So we have a lot of work to do. Right?
And this is something that you didn't do overnight. Like, this is after you being rejected by Fever Records, right? Because
Well,
you
I'm
know,
not saying Fever Record. I'm not going
but
there, but
it's a conversation that Sal Batello had, stating that he's not going to be booking new school artists or newer artists, and that, you know, that he was going to give opportunity to other people that were in that bracket of legends or whatever the case may be. And I don't mean it as you were rejected personally. It's just that, you know, you are trying to create your own avenues where you don't want to rely on Old Faithful and be like others who are waiting for that opportunity to get on the Fever show and then complain about it on social media when they don't.
well, I learned, I took advice from a former friend of mine that said, you got to create your own opportunity. If you're not getting the shows, create the shows, right? And then once you do that, you get a little buzz. Then you start getting the calls, which I can say it's probably starting now, right? And I'm well over 30 years in this industry, but that's fine. I'll take it, you know, because it's a different chapter in my life. Right? I didn't do a lot of shows in my 20s, you know, did some here and there. If I'm doing it in my 50s, I guess, you know what, this is going to keep me in shape to hopefully live a longer life, you know, so I'll take it. But we're creating that path. And like, you know, like, again, going back to that person said, you got to put your own money, you got to invest into yourself to get to where you want to be. So that's what I'm trying to
Jenaro?
do.
Yeah, I mean, they said pretty much everything that I would say. I mean, even expanded on a lot, because I do believe, you know, as far as collaboration go, it should expand opportunity, but ultimately it doesn't mean it's a ticket. It's gonna buy you your way in, or it's gonna all of a sudden I did a song with this person, it's gonna open this door, it's gonna open that door. It's a possibility, but you know, don't. And I always say, you know, expectation. You know, always manage your expectations, because if you go into something, of course, we got to be optimistic, but don't throw all your eggs into this basket and say, this is supposed to do this, is supposed to do that. Like, we know where we are, we kind of see what the field is, and all of a sudden, just unless, you know, the song breaks some major ground or builds some kind of buzz and the people are clamoring for you, just because you do this collaboration doesn't mean all the floodgates are going to open and now everybody's going to just come for you, because now you've aligned yourself, quote unquote, with a certain person. And I don't think that should be, first and foremost, it should always be about the music, right? It should never be about the ulterior motive of, oh, if I do this, it's going to get this. Yeah, I mean, hey, it's cool if it does that. But to me, I've always, from my label mates and stuff, you know, they jumped on so many records, and I used to be like, why are you guys doing that? Don't do that. And they would say, like, if I'm coming from this place of, you know, hate, like, oh, well, they're not asking you to do it. I'm like, no, because if you keep giving away what you do to everybody else, it's no longer special if you're doing it, if that makes sense. I mean, yeah, share the love, but you get what I'm saying. If all of a sudden every record you got the same voice 1,000 times, it can become a thing of oversaturation. And that's how I always felt about it.
Are we having conversations with the collaborators or the people that we collaborate with beforehand when it comes to you know, promises, expectations, what they think is going to happen? Because I think that has to be done more if it's not being done now.
Agreed.
I know I do, especially when it comes to, I'm very, a split sheet is a must, and I give them a split sheet. At the end of the day, it's a business, right?
Yeah.
So if that split sheet doesn't want to be filled out, then we just don't put out the song, and we're still friends. We still support each other, because at the end of the day, it's a business, right? And I think that was something that Willie, right? We just used to do just anything for anybody for free, and it was just fun. But at this day and time, we have to really like consider it a business, because that's the only way. Not only are you going to be respected, but you're going to give yourself some type of value. You know what I mean? So like, and I'll say it again, with Willie, I've done it with anyone. There's some people that made the mistake of not doing it with, but that's a lesson learned, right? But with everyone that I've collabed with, especially the most recent ones, there's a split sheet signed, and we already know what to expect.
Yeah, you got to cover your butt. Like I
Yeah.
think we've learned that over the
Mhm.
years, right? It's fun
Mhm.
and then it doesn't
Mhm.
become fun when someone says, "Hey,
Mhm.
we don't have a contract, we don't have a deal going,"
Mhm.
and you're getting more shows than me, or people talking about you more than they're talking about me. So you gotta do the right thing. You gotta be smart about it, especially nowadays. Yeah.
I always
Sorry.
go back to CPR's Clubhouse Freestyle Man is the Elite compilation, right? We have a George Anthony record on there. And I have about 200 copies of that stored away, and I don't sell them anymore because of the fact that, when we collaborated, there was nothing signed, right? And now it just seems like people are coming out of the woodwork to get their hand out and talk about, you owe me this, you owe me that. So I'd rather keep them in the closet there and let them, be stored there for as long as I can, because I don't want people to come out of the woodwork to start asking for stuff or trying to say that they're going to sue for something that is pennies on the dollar anyways, right? But that's how pitiful and penny pitching pocket chasers are, where they're looking at what you're making, what they think that you're making. Everyone is looking at somebody else's platform, or they see them on social media live, and they think that they're doing great, and they make these assumptions. And instead of having conversations, they'll run with those assumptions, and it just becomes this narrative that they go with for many, many years. So I'd rather not sell the CDs and just keep them there, because one of the people that I collaborated with, even though we had a verbal agreement, they gave away all the songs that they did on the compilation and just let people have it for free. And so, I don't want to be in a situation where they're going to be calling me and say, you owe me this, you owe me that. Well, here's what I pressed and here's what I have left. Nothing ever happened with them. And I never put them on digital or anything like that. And that's because of the fact that, the way that the Internet Freestyle community has presented itself lately is that they're looking for that come up, and they're going to get that come up by any means necessary. And what that means is they're going to go back in time and they're going to recreate a storyline that was never there. Because back in the day, and Willie Valentin can attest to this, people were going to him, begging him to put out their records and paying him to produce it, right? Not having a way for them to put it out themselves. And then they tell Willie, well, just take the record and put it out for me, right? And then they wanted to sit back and wait till Willie sold the CDs or whatever the case may be, and then be like, Willie, you owe me money. And it's like, what do you mean? Yeah, I owe you money. You said put the song out, and we talked about that there was no compensation for it. I'm doing you a favor. And it just became that. So um, expectations is very important, and I think that people have their brains, because of the Internet Freestyle community, social media, and because of the way things are now, they just augment everything to be bigger and to give themselves more of a history in this genre when they truly didn't really do anything in this community. um, Willie, when you hear collaboration, features, duets, and team ups, do you feel that they're all separate?
Yeah, I think they're different, and I was thinking about that before we got on this. This what do we call this?
Panel.
There you go, panel. When I think about duets, it's usually like George said, male, female. Features is when George had Molly Mays do a rap. That's a feature to me. This is just my definition. I'm not saying this is it. And then when I think about collaborations, it varies, right? So it could be like a remix and you add another artist to it, right? Which I think we've all done that. It could be a collaboration of multiple artists, like when we did the artistic thing, or the Legends that We Are the One. That's a collaboration of a ton of artists, right? Um, so again, so there's just different variations of it. I mean, there's more than one artist, whether you go through all those three different types of scenarios. But I think for me, that's my breakdown of what they all mean to me. So,
What about you, Jenaro? What you think?
I mean, I concur. I think he broke them down pretty specifically, it make that's like a really good definition because yeah, duets always been the guy girl thing, and I feel the same way. A feature is if someone like jumps on my song and they just do some backgrounds for oohs and ahs and some harmonies, then I featured them, right? But they're not necessarily they're not on the song with me, where it's more of a thing where you have my song is Jenaro. I didn't put featuring Vera because I thought that would be a little bit I thought it would be a little bit not disrespectful, because of course if I'm the bigger name or whatever, but I just thought it was just cool to just give her own thing, just say Vera and Jenaro, not like Jenaro featuring Vera or whatever, because I just thought it was a better look for her. So that's what we were talking about earlier when we say, like, when you're doing these collaborations, you're doing these things, sometimes you have to put ego aside or these other things, because you are there trying to, if you are trying to give somebody a leg up into the business, you gotta approach it from a place of humility and and compassion, and think about the people that you are going to do these things with. And I've tried to do that with songwriting, producing for people. Like, I've always tried to separate myself, or the if you want to say the legend of myself, from whatever this thing is that I'm doing. Because for me, first and foremost, it's always about, is this good for the music? Is this good for both of us? Because I've always said, like, outside, I know a video is not a song collaboration, but you collaborate with the video director. And I remember when I did my first video, I'm like, if this looks like crap, it's not coming out, because it has something I have to live with forever, and I want to be proud of something that my name is on. And I think we should take that same care even when someone's putting their name on our project. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you. So when the project changes and it doesn't change with your permission, and I'll give this one to Jenaro. I remember that you did a remake of a song called Scars,
Yeah.
and then the song was updated, remixed by Willie Valentin, and then you added another person to the song, Jenny Renee. So it was Jenaro featuring Jenny Renee. But then when she released her album, it became Jenny Renee featuring Jenaro. Now, does that bother anybody on this panel? And Jenaro, you can answer this question. Did it kind of bother you when they switched it because it was your project originally?
I won't say that it bothered me, because it was on the album and it was like written that way because it's her album, so it's trying to differentiate, like, okay, well, this one has Jenaro on it, or but it was just an individual thing. I think it should just be, Jenaro, Jenny Renee, whatever, however the first one was. But it didn't bother me because it was her album. Now, there has been a thing where there'll be people they'll say to me, like, I love the song you did with Jenny Renee. And I'm like, yeah, my song Scars. No, her song. And I'm like, it's my song Scars, because it's been this thing to certain groups of people who kind of, they've backburned me on my own song.
Well,
I would have kept it Jenaro featuring Jenny Renee, but that's just me.
Yeah, there are some things that have happened throughout the years. Like when George Anthony and George Lamont got together, I thought it was an amazing collaboration. I thought it was great, right? The vocals were perfect. But then the community was like trying to find reasons not to like the song or support it. And it was like, I expected more. I'm like, did you want George Lamont to set George Anthony on fire? What do you mean you wanted more?
Trust me, we had over 80 tracks of just George Lamont going ballistic on all these tracks vocally. That's why we called it GA versus GL, and then we did a face off, because a lot of people do compare me to him, but remember, at the end of the day, I was emulating George Lamont when I got into freestyle. The first song I heard was Without You, and I was just trying to sing that song like him, and so to be able to do a GA versus GL, and then when you listen to the song, you see how we both just like vocally battled, from the ad-libs to the way that he sang it, to the way that I was singing it, and it's funny that you mentioned that, CPR, because people did dissect it. They said GA did a song with the GOAT. You know what I mean? And some even said, that there were just too many vocals. I said, oh, that's a great thing, because that's the first time I ever heard something like that. Too many vocals, So I guess I took even the crazy part. Like, it was supposed to be a negative, but to me, when they said it was too many vocals, I was like, perfect, because that's what I wanted. I wanted people I wanted when people were listening to it to hear that we vocally produced it as well.
Yeah. I think there's a demographic of people like us who we listen to stuff like that, right? You got the people who come and say, that's too many vocals. To me, the way I make sense of that kind of stuff in my mind, I'm going, that's a person who they solely like the melody and they like the beat, right? They're not really caring about whatever else is going on. But guys like us, where we're like, oh, did you hear how that line fell between that bass line and how that line faded right into this one? He came out and said this. Oh, that's like magic. Like, so guys like us, we listen to that. So, you're making ear candy for people who like stuff like that. And I think that in itself to me is like the beauty of collaboration. And that's what I say when it's like when two talented people get together from, writing and producing and just seeing what comes out of that. To me, that's the beauty of it. To me, that's what gets me excited. It's not, I get excited for the other stuff after the fact. Like, oh man, I wonder where this is going to go or what doors this may open. But it's that process for me. Like, when I'm there and, someone's in the booth and I'm like, oh no, that was so, oh man, what about doing this? And what about doing that? Like, to me, that's the beauty of collaboration. And I don't think the casual listener to music in general, they don't pick up on those things like we do. So they always going to pick it apart. Well, why'd you do this? Well, you should have did more of this. And I thought it was going to be that because, everybody wants to be a couch producer, etc. But, but like you said, it just lets you know when you learn to listen to what people are saying and how to sift through it and, listen with the open mind, you kind of get where they're going without being offended. And I wanted to say too, I wanted to give you props for earlier saying like, I emulated George Amon and I wanted to do this because it takes a lot of character to come up here and do that because so many people are so they're just afraid to say like, oh, I was influenced by this or I was, or I modeled myself after this or that's what I passed. Like, no, there's nothing wrong with that because we all kind of, till you develop your own artistic sensibilities and identity, we all kind of patterned ourselves after certain people. And I just wanted to say, I'll give you props for doing that because, it for people who may not understand the significance of you doing that, but no, that's huge for you to say that because that shows that the humility is still there. You understand what the power in these things are. And I just hate that so many people out there have gotten to this point where it's always like, it's me and it's me and it's me and it's me and it's just me. And, and that's why, like the CPR's point earlier, where we have to nail down every single detail about doing collaborations. And I know I'm talking a lot, but I wanted to piggyback off of something Will said earlier, where we said like, yeah, we talk about the splits, we talk about things like that, but I know personally, I have not had a lot of the conversations prior to the collaboration coming out. What if this does this? Then what's our plan? I've not had enough of those realistic conversations, and that's something that I think going forward I'm going to make sure I put that in the things because it's something you don't want to deal with down the road later. From anything to hey, if the song gets hot and we're getting booked because hey, I'm a solo person, you're a solo person, I have a fee. You have a fee. Maybe they don't want to book you for your whole show. They might want to just book us to do this song. So where do we find this happy medium? And I do think that's something that going forward, that definitely has to be in those conversations and contracts.
Willie, you're doing that right now. You have two 16-year-old freestyle sensations, Lily Rose, your daughter, and Juliana Lee, her best friend. How are you maneuvering through this collaboration? How are they finding this newfound fame and this song that was over 2 million impressions in 2024?
I'm letting them decide on what they want to do. I don't say, hey, we're doing another song, girls, when I know they both want to do their own songs, right? That was the plan from the beginning. the song took off. Now they're saying, hey, let's do one more, which is good. Juliana had the song that she's already recorded by herself. So we incorporated that into the shows. So it's smooth. It's smooth. They both, when they're both interviewed, it's not one-sided. When they perform or when people post, I share with them both. Hey, look what the fans saying about you. Sometimes it's about Juliana, sometimes it's about Lily. So they're equally seeing what's out there, which is good. I think that's what's making it work. No one has a big head say, well, I'm a better this, I'm better that. Why are they talking about her, or why not about me as much? That's not the case here, which is great. And I hope it lasts because, they're still young, and they both have that hunger. They're enjoying the moment, which is great. But that's why the parents are very involved. Me and Cynthia and Juliana's parents are very involved. And we have straight talk also. We have rehearsal every week, and when we rehearse and say, this is what we saw in the last show, we review tapes like it's a football game. We're like, this is what I saw. We lost a little bit of the energy here. Let's make sure we keep it up. Or, hey, the routine wasn't as tight as it was last show. What happened here? Was it the music was too loud or not loud enough? Can you hear yourself? So we always go through all that stuff. I think it keeps them grounded, and it's working, so.
Yeah, nurturing is a word that I wanted to talk about because that is great nurturing. And I see that from George Anthony nurturing in the years that I've known him. For him to attempt to help whoever is brand new or coming up or someone that may need a leg up, and for you to lend your voice just like George Lamont lend his voice to you. I always thought that was like that pull up. But again, we go back to the negativity of the genre. So nurturing these things is also something that you do and that you've done. You had these honest conversations, but it just creates resentment for some reason instead of creating a person that wants to be a student of the game, like a Nick Cologne, who was an intern at Willie Valentin Studios and Artistic Recordings, that wanted to learn more about the community and production and writing and all this great stuff. We don't have a lot of those people that are wanting to be an intern or have that nurturing collaboration with a partner to be able to get to the next level where they need to be. It just seems like people are feeling like they're already there.
I know. I've talked about this a lot because us men, three of us sitting here, we make it look easy. And that's part of the problem. When we started doing this, we knew that it wasn't easy because we didn't have social media. We didn't have all these easy opportunities to go to find out how to make music, how to put music out, how to do this, how to do that. You didn't have your neighbor couldn't tell you, hey man, go sign up for CD Baby. That didn't exist. So now people see us do certain things, and unfortunately, some respect is lost. Like like we said, they pick apart what you do. And I would look at things and say, and look, I know people personally as friends now with associates, etc., that I used to listen to them make music back in the day and was such an admirement. How did they do that? How did they got the sounds? How was this? How was that like that? And I never thought it was like, I was always to my mind like, I can't wait to the day that I can do that. It was not, I'm gonna go do that tomorrow. Or when I didn't do it, made myself believe that I did it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like we've by virtue of our hard work, we have made a bunch of people believe that it's very easy to do this thing that we do. And it's kind
A lot
of
of sacrifice.
yeah, it's kind of unfortunate because we've scraped and struggled and fought our way to to be in this little space that we occupy, for it to be made light of by by so many people, or then when they don't get the same recognition that you get, all of a sudden it's because they're trying to hold me back, or people are hating on me, or this and that. I hate that is such an oversaturated thing that's out there, because I always say the thing is, if you have to tear anybody down to build yourself up, you've already lost. And that's, and it's crazy that it gets to a point, because there's a lot of people out there who probably, now, there's another part where I'm sure CPR link there. We got to be careful who we collaborate with and who we even, invite to the party, because that might become chaotic. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So,
and that's part of what's happening with the internet freestyle community. There's a lot of freestyle social climbers and people that want to get into spots that they haven't earned, and then they see somebody that earned it, and they want to skip through. They want to be let to the front of the line, and so I think a lot of the issues that have occurred in recent memory, when it comes to George or Willie Valentin and Jenaro, is the fact that they think that you guys got a cut to the front of the line. And what I try to tell them and give them an attestation to is that I've seen the work that you've put forth. Like I've seen George Anthony have a full shift, doing his duties of his employment, right? And then getting an hour of sleep, waking up at 2 a.m. to drive to Connecticut to be at J. Allen's studio, and then be there all night. You know what I mean? And then go to Edwin's studio to mix it down. Willie Valentin, I remember the 90s, people driving up to artistic studios, him being in that hot room, in that hot box, recording vocals, traveling from one place to another, trying to get his CDs into Mr. Musica in Hartford, Connecticut. So from Manhattan, from Spanish Harlem, all the way to Connecticut just to sell some CDs. And sometimes the CDs would be like, okay, I'll take 3. So you just drove all that time to sell 3 CDs, and it's not $15 a piece. It's like wholesale prices, right? You know what I mean? And so and then sometimes you have to even cut that down. Oh, I could give you, instead of 10, I'll give you 7. They don't understand that because they've never been through it. Genaro, I'm sure that you've walked to your recording sessions.
yeah, I always tell the story of going to record it. It could have been love, and we did not have a ride to the studio. Me and Heck did not have a ride, and I had a cold, and we're literally walking to the studio in the winter to go record this song. And I'm not gonna say we walked 10 miles or nothing. We probably walked almost an hour or whatever, but it's like we're walking, and it's like to go record a song for a label that's like it was like, hold on, man, something's getting a little ridiculous around here. But we've all done that, and like I just the singing in basements of churches and recording early demos on my friend's DJ equipment, using headphones as microphones, and just all these things just to try to get a taste of what it was like to make music, singing over the dub versions of 12-inch vinyl records, and doing all these different things, and, writing, and just the countless amount of things that you've done to get to this little level, to have it just to have everybody think that it's a very easy road to travel, because they don't see all of those things. Or to your other point, when everybody's like, well, how come he gets this, or how come he's got that? And it's like, that's a thing of like, stop, like work harder, like do what you have to do, rub elbows, put yourself in positions, try to do things. But if you just sit there bitch moaning and complaining, on social media, that's not going to get you where you need to go. That's not going to help you improve anything. I'm always asking myself, how can I do this better? I don't care if I'm one of the people who made I threw in my heart, or I'm the one to blame. That okay, fine, but how can I be better? What else can I do to keep challenging myself? And those are the things that people need to do, because when you get to this point of where you start to everything you do, or you just got it like that, everything is gold. Because I think that's something else people don't know. How long, and I know from talking to both of you, man, how long we will sit on something, or we will scrap it, or throw it over, start from scratch, do all these things, because we do care about this thing that we do. It's not a thing of like, oh, just because you're George Anthony and you got the golden voice, I'm just going to put anything out. That's not what you do. You know what I'm saying? It's like, Willie takes probably hours and hours of mixing. Oh, this snare is not right. This is not right, and just sitting there driving himself crazy to get it a point where it's supposed to be. Like it's work, but it's also what made us fall in love with this, you know, in the first place, honestly. And I think thus those of us who are from a certain era, we all can appreciate and understand that. And I think you just had to be there.